Town Hall, having reached the hour of 6:07-ish or so, I hereby call to order the meeting. We are going to be adding two addendum items to our council meeting this evening. One will be right after the town manager's report, and then another one at the end of our meeting. Tonight's invocation will be given by Chief Chuck Wonder. Thanks for being here, Chief, from the Green Valley Fire District, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Brindley Tressler, a second grade student at Sahuarita Primary School. Sorry, Brindley, I messed that up, and I only met you like 2 minutes ago. Apologize. Chief?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Please join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day and for this refreshing gift of snow that you placed on the mountains. What a special treat. Thank you for this chance for us to gather here tonight, and thank you for these leaders who you have called to lead this amazing town. Lord, I ask for your blessings, your protection, and particularly your wisdom for these council members as they navigate through the various issues, not only on tonight's agenda, but also on future agendas as well. Help them make decisions that are honoring to you and beneficial for the town and its residents. Lord, we thank you for the town staff and for everything they do in support of Sahuarita. Please let them know that their efforts are appreciated and do not go unnoticed by the community. Continue to fill them with a sense of pride and continue to encourage them in their efforts. Finally, Lord, I pray a special prayer tonight for the Pima County deputy who was shot last night. We ask for your healing power and your protection over him and his family. And Lord, we ask, we also ask the same protection over all of our first responders who routinely place themselves in harm's way to serve and protect our communities. Be with them throughout their shifts and return them to their loved ones following their watch. Lord, we ask these things in your Son's most precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chief. Brindley?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And I apologize again, Brindley, that I messed up your name. I won't mess that up again. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll?
Councilmember Bracco.
Here.
Councilmember Davis. Councilmember Gillespie.
Here.
Councilmember Morales. Councilmember Priolo.
Here.
Vice Mayor Egbert.
Here.
Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thanks. We're going to begin with two presentations. I have a proclamation, so if Dylan Pruitt can join me at the podium. We're going to be honoring April 28th, 2023 as Arbor Day, and Dylan is our Parks and Rec Facilities Manager.
For sure.
So we'll be proclaiming Arbor Day proclamation, whereas the town of Sahuarita will observe Arbor Day in 2023 by planting trees at Quail Creek Veterans Memorial Park, and whereas residents are encouraged to celebrate at home by planting and caring for trees to improve their quality of life, and whereas the Arbor Day Foundation, in partnership with the U.S. Forest Service and National Association of State Foresters, has recognized the town of Sahuarita with Tree City USA status, and whereas trees moderate temperatures, lower heating and cooling costs, clean the air, reduce topsoil erosion, produce oxygen, provide habitat for wildlife, and produce many other benefits. Now, therefore, it be resolved that I, Tom Murphy, the mayor of the town of Sahuarita, on behalf of the town council, do hereby recognize Friday, April 28, 2023 as Arbor Day, and testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the town of Sahuarita on this 23rd day of January 2023. Congratulations, and we have a proclamation that we'll grab a picture of. Thank you. And do you want to touch on any of the subject?
I think I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the hard work that you do, and we're not up to 1 million trees like Tucson, right? Okay.
We'll get there.
Okay, thanks. Our second one is a recognition of excellence. And if Becky Pollard and the chief, oh, I didn't see you off in the wings. We received a message from Lieutenant Carlson that I'll read, and then we'll go on to some thank yous, okay? So on December 16th, 2022, an incident involving vandalism occurred in the town of Sahuarita complex. While inside the planning and building portion of the complex, several people were working on the information technology IT area. There was a loud noise that sounded like something hitting a hard surface with a lot of force in the area of Ron Bishop's office. IT systems technician Becky Pollard got up from her work space and went to talk to Mr. Bishop about what the noise may have been. Mr. Bishop had discovered that his window was broken but did not know how it happened. Ms. Pollard walked to the front lobby area to see if they knew anything. While in the front area, she was informed by staff that they saw a female walking through the complex who had picked up a large rock and threw it through the town hall glass entry door. It appeared that she had thrown another rock at Mr. Bishop's window, which had broken it. Ms. Pollard exercised good situational awareness by immediately locking the front doors of the planning and building lobby while other employees called 911. The suspect then walked back by and tried to pull on the planning and building doors, but could not gain entry due to them being locked. Even through 911 had been called, Ms. Pollard continued to demonstrate good situational awareness and action by getting back into IT and contacting Lieutenant Carlson, who was in the building, and on an unrelated matter, and relayed what was happening. Lieutenant Carlson was able to act and stop the suspect before she could cause any more damage. Thanks to Ms. Pollard's quick thinking and immediate locking of the doors, the suspect could not enter the building. Due to her recognition that she could get the information to a police officer who was in the building faster than my calling 911 again, the suspect was stopped before anything else could occur. Ms. Pollard's actions protected her fellow town employees who were in the lobby area and prevented the suspect from being able to cause more damage. Ms. Pollard demonstrated good situational awareness, quality decision-making, and quick and appropriate action. She helped prevent further damage to the town facility, and by locking the doors, prevented the suspect from having entry and direct contact with planning and building and IT employees. And you hear a lot about see something, say something. This is one of the finest examples recently of seeing something and saying something. So on behalf of the town of Sahuarita, we wanted to thank you. And Chief, I know you might have a couple words in awarding this recognition of excellence.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I have what we refer to as a copy of your recognition on excellence, or recognition, let's see if I can do it. Recognition and excellence on what we refer to as quality paper. So that will be for you. Thank you. Thank you. Additionally, we're presenting you with our anniversary challenge coin, which if you've got good eyesight, you can read all 15 counties on there. So there's that. And
Turn that into a belt buckle. That's so big.
Our department challenge coin, which will have our patch, badge, et cetera, with our mission statement and motto on there. Becky, thank you. In a world where strange stuff happens all the time, this was at the lower end, but still an important thing to be aware of situationally. Our nation here recently has gone through, I think, our nation's youngest school shooter, tragically there in Virginia. And then looks like our nation's oldest mass shooter here in Los Angeles recently. And it is important, Mr. Mayor, see something, say something, get people there. So thank you for being who you are and for taking those steps that you did. It really helped.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good deal. And if anybody wants to say anything while I get up, that's fine. Item number 6 is call to the public. At this time, any member of the public is invited to address the town council on any issue which is on tonight's consent agenda or any issue which the town council can lawfully act upon at a future meeting. Pursuant to Arizona open meeting laws, the council may not discuss the items but individual members of the council may respond to criticism made by those who have addressed the council, may ask staff to review the matter, and may ask the matter be placed on a future agenda. And we have many friends in our town, and this one in particular, Suzanne Bryceland and Clarice Sullivan are from the Women of Quail Creek, that's still the name, correct? And here to talk about something that we've experienced in the past. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Mayor Murphy and town council members. It's a pleasure to be able to present annually to you on the status of our scholarship program at the Women of Quail Creek sponsor. We began this program back in 2016, so we've been coming before you since that time. And in 2016, we presented two $1,000 scholarships to two graduating high school seniors. Then in 2017, the Women of Quail Creek felt that they really wanted to empower women and provide, again, educational opportunities to those women who perhaps, when they graduated from high school, they were not able to go on to either a 2-year or 4-year college, or their schooling was interrupted. So the Women in Quail Creek established the Women in Transition, a woman who's in transition, WIT as we shortcut call it. And we gave one $1,000 scholarship in 2017. Well, due to the generosity of Sahuarita, Green Valley, the residents of Quail Creek, we have definitely expanded. And this year, we're going to be able to give to the high school level $2,500 scholarships, and at the Women in Transition, we're going to be able to make those $3,500.
Oh.
So we're really pleased. Also, in 2022, last year, we awarded 8 high school scholarships at $2,500, and we awarded 7 $2,500 scholarships for the Women in Transition. Wow. So that totaled about $29,500 that we awarded last year in scholarships. And again, it's through donated monies, through our businesses, the people, the generosity of which this community is known for. Clarice is going to give you more information on the high school.
Good evening, and thanks for inviting us to be here. As Susan mentioned, we, the Women of Quail Creek, do offer scholarships up to $2,500 to women graduating from high school. They're young women, and they're ready to go out into the world, and so we offer them the opportunity to achieve this scholarship award. And $2,500 is a nice hunk of money for kids going to school. So this year, we will be offering those scholarships to women graduating from Sahuarita High School, Walden Grove High School, and Rio Rico. And Rio Rico is just new to us. We added them on last year. And the women in our committee go out to the schools, work with the counselors, meet with the young people in a lunch opportunity, and they describe the scholarship and offer information about how to apply. And last year, 32 applications were received, 8 scholarships were awarded.
Keep going, there's 2 of you, so you get a reboot.
3 went to the women, the young women, at Sahuarita High School, 3 went to the Walden Grove young women, and 2 went to Rio Rico. So we're moving along, and this year we're kind of focusing on those young women who might want to go to a trade school.
Right.
Kind of the kids that fly under the radar, not the real achievers, but they still want to get out there and maybe learn how to be a dental technician or beautician. So we really want to get our information out to them and hope that they will apply. And we're going to do better this year.
Thank you.
And then our Women in Transition scholarship, and council members, you all have a flyer. The deadline for that application is March 13th. And again, as Clarice said, we really encourage the technical schools, the community colleges are excellent, and they're less expensive. And we always encourage them, get certified in something, and then you can go on to a 4-year college. But anyway, that's got the Women in Transition this year, $3,500. And we're hoping to give, again, about 7 to 8. So thank you so much for being able to present. We're excited.
Thank you very much. And also, if you could get our town clerk an electronic version of this.
Sure.
We have a lot of social media experts up here that can get the word out, and it would be a little easier if you had electronic
We would
version.
appreciate it. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
Thanks for being here tonight. That's all the speaker cards I had. Did anybody else want to address the town council? Yes. Just make sure afterwards you turn in a call to the public slip.
So my name is Chris Nastasi, and I would like to ask the council to consider taking the traffic lights during after hours, say 9 o'clock or 10 p.m. to 5 or 6 in the morning, and changing them from the regular timing to the flashing red or yellow. Because I've sat there at the lights with no one there for 2 minutes while I'm waiting for it to change. So it would, help speed up progress and maybe save a little bit of gas in the process. So.
Thanks for being here tonight.
I'm not going to comment on that except to say that I always knew that I was late for curfew if the lights were blinking when I got home when I was a teenager.
Anybody else like to address the council? Seeing no movement, I'll close the call to the public and move on to council brief summary of current events. I think I started, Councilman Morales, have anything? Simon? Diane?
Yes, I'd like to thank the town employees for jumping so quickly on the idea of a cardboard recycling program. I mean, my wish was your command. It was amazing. It happened in lightning speed, and Captain Crunch is going to be fed lots of cardboard to earn money for that wonderful Sahuarita Food Bank and Community Services. So bravo, town employees of Sahuarita. I'm proud of
Captain
you.
Crunch is what they named the crushing machine at the Sahuarita Food
Well
Bank.
done.
So I don't want you going out buying cereal after this.
I thought that was Diane's favorite, that's all.
Yeah, see, that's why I wanted to clarify. Bill, do you have anything? Steve? Kira?
I have two. They hope it happen on the same day. The Parks and Rec, the Arts Festival was incredible.
I had the word
Beautiful.
amazing down.
There you go. I mean, it was just, every time Parks and Rec touched something, it ends up being spectacular every year. And so well done on that. And that same day, we also had a collection here at the town, and I had to recognize the troop that's sitting in front of us, the Boy
Right.
Scout troop that are here. They volunteered as part of that collection and cut Christmas trees up. If anybody in that room, my son was there. I wanted anybody there that cut down those Christmas trees. When my son got back in the car, it smelled like Christmas. It was
Right.
wonderful. So thank you for your service and your volunteer in the community and helping that collection site occur. It was well needed for all the different things we were collecting that day.
Right. And also, I was able to attend that event in the arts. And, at some point, hopefully we can compare our calendars, because we also had a big first responders event down at Kanoa Ranch. And so it's always, sort of feast and famine. So that's kind of my New Year's resolution, that we can kind of, spread the love a little bit around. And I know the county, had some difficulties with their scheduling, so we only could do the grease recycling on that weekend. So I know things can't always work, but that was a busy weekend, popping, between all of them. And I echo those comments because the Chalk Art Festival, which was last year, was very, specific and condensed. So they sort of took this on steroids and had a lot of positive comments about the performances and all of that. So that was really. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The unicorns in the lake. So it was really a nice event. And speaking about events, Shane may be covering this, but we were able to acquire the Tubac Santa Cruz Car Nuts Car Show out of Tubac a couple of years. Well, actually, just last year was the first year, I think. And that's happening this Saturday. And I know we have over about 300 cars attending out at the Quail Creek Memorial Park. And when I went last year, they were raving about the cooperation of the town and our town employees on putting this event on. And they're another good group of people that just raise money and then give it all back. Women of Quail Creek, the White Elephant, all of the above. So really appreciate that. And I wish the ladies were still here. I went to the Sahuarita Winds meeting that Dr. Valenzuela puts on, and Pima Community College was there. And they've been working on this dual enrollment, and they reported that we have over 3,000 hours of dual enrollment courses completed by our high school students at a savings of $1.8 million. So that's just kind of how we roll in Sahuarita. And when my girls were younger, They didn't have that same opportunity, so we've really come a long ways by working together. And as a reminder, our next regularly scheduled meeting is Monday, February 27th. And Madam Clerk, we're on to item number 8.
Town Manager's Report highlighting employee and department accomplishments, capital improvement projects, development projects, and town events.
And Shane Dilley, our town manager, will lead this discussion, and I bet you have a lot of good positive things to report on.
Absolutely, Mayor.
Okay, Shane, please proceed.
Mayor, thank you. Members of the council, good evening. It's always a highlight for me to be able to present this report to the council each month. It doesn't happen often enough that we're able to tell our good story, the great work that our staff is doing in the service of our community, programs, as you've mentioned, the calendaring events, the ways that we very intently and on a very personal level touch the lives of the people in our community and the businesses in our community. So this is a great opportunity. And I want to thank the council for allowing it to happen. It's a very important thing to do, and I'm humbled to be able to be the voice for that each month. I want to acknowledge again the effort by our leadership team and members in the town manager's office to consolidate all this information into a readable, digestible report with lots of fun pictures and making it something that is hopefully enjoyable and easy to read through, but at the same time very informative. I also want to draw your attention to the biannual report of strategic plan accomplishments. We moved from a quarterly reporting process just because of the amount of work that goes into those reports to a biannual report on efforts that the town is taking to further the strategic plan. So that report was copied or included in the staff, my staff report for the town manager's update. It's linked also on our website, along with the town manager's reports for the public's benefit as well. A lot of good information in there. Again, very digestible, very easy to read, but it does give a nice overview of the work that we've done to further our strategic plan over the last half of the year 2022. Oh, I didn't advance. I've got the controller here. Okay, so we'll now move into acknowledging some of our employees and the work anniversaries. We've almost been doing this a whole year, so next month will be 12 months of providing this update. I would think that we're probably going to make some revisions, some changes. Next month would mark everybody having been spotlighted because we are really capturing everybody in this go-around. So stay tuned for some interesting and exciting changes as we roll into year 2 of this exercise of spotlighting our employees. But we do it right now. We break it into 4 brackets, 1 through 4 years with the town, 5 through 9 years with the town, 10 through 14 years, and 15 plus years with this wonderful organization. And so tonight, I am presenting to you 7 of our employees that experienced a work anniversary for the 1 through 4 year bracket. We've got Analea Contreras, who's a senior office assistant in Public Works. We got Dakota Vu, a police officer. Dustin Sinclair, a very talented communication specialist, does a lot of work. A lot of the things that you see that is kind of eye candy online and virtually comes through the touch of Dustin. And we've got Alexis McBurnett, who's a court clerk.
We need Dustin here to advance.
We need Dustin to advance. Can you help with that, Lisa? There we go. Thank you. Wrapping up the 1 to 4 year bracket, we've got Rafael Martinez in IT, Emerick Martinez, a police officer with 2 years. Rafael was 2 years, and Ivan Kota, detective in our police department, who's been with us for 4 years. Our next bracket is 5 to 9 years. Pleased to report that one of my employees in the town manager's office, Mark Felix, celebrated his 5-year anniversary in January. I really appreciate all that he does to help us and support us. Denise Chiquete is a police officer, and she's been with us for 5 years as well. And celebrating in the 10 to 14 year bracket is our very own Ron Bishop, Information Technology Manager for the town of Sahuarita. We really appreciate everything that he does and the leadership he provides us through IT services. And we've got 2 individuals that we're recognizing tonight in the 15-plus year category. And it's worth doing so. That's quite a commitment to the organization, the work that they do for us, and have dedicated a big chunk of their professional career with the town of Sahuarita. The first individual we're recognizing tonight is Darlene Dune. She's a crime analyst in our police department. She's not here with us tonight, but a quote from a Commander Allred, states the following: Darlene has worked for the department for 16 years. She has provided invaluable information and statistics that help us from decisions on staffing, including assisting with complicated investigations. Darlene is always happy to help and is an asset to our agency. I appreciate all the work and her dedication. Thank you, Darlene, for your service. I hope you're listening, but if we could give her a little round of applause, that'd be great. Second individual we're recognizing tonight also is with the police department. Jesus Bustamante is a detective in the police department. In his bio, we read that when he started in 2006, he was hired by an interim chief of police, who at the time was also the assistant chief at Oro Valley. He was covering until the town hired a new police chief. He started with the standard 16-week field training program, in which he learned the procedures of the police department and applied them to various calls of service that were received. At the time, the police department worked out of an old station located inside Duval Commerce Court and Duval Mine Road until they moved to the current location. At that time, there were only 14 officers and 3 sergeants with the police department. So you see the kind of change that Mr. Bustamante has experienced with our organization. The department was small at the time. His initial duties were patrol, and he worked primarily the swing shift and midnight shifts. As the years progressed, he attended several patrol-based training that included field officer training, general instructor training, highway interdiction courses, and many numerous other pieces of training courses that were mandated by AZ Post. His assignments after some years on patrol include field training officer, corporal, bike patrol officer, neighborhood watch meetings, and later teaching new recruits how to write reports in the advanced basic training after they completed their law enforcement training. He next transitioned into the Detectives Bureau in January of 2020, where he resides today. He's attended many detective-based training classes, including Basic Detective School, Search Warrant School, Homicide School, and Advanced Forensic Interviewing Training. A quote provided by Sergeant Navarrete had this to say about Bustamante. He's affectionately known as Booster. He's a 17-year veteran with the police department. Detective Bustamante started his career in law enforcement with the State Capitol Police, where he was assigned to the Tucson section back in 1998. Throughout his career, Detective Bustamante has held multiple positions with the police department, the town police department, including field training officer, general instructor, bike patrol, neighborhood watch coordinator, corporal, and his most recent assignment as a detective within the Investigation Bureau. He has been married to the love of his life, Maria Bustamante, for over 23 years now, and he's a proud father of 3 children, 2 of whom are twins. He is an avid sports fan and closely follows the Dallas Cowboys' unfortunate loss to the 49ers.
Or fortunate, depending
No,
on
no,
your,
no, no,
on your
no, no.
team. It's the best college team out there.
Mayor, the tie goes to the person being spotlighted. It's an unfortunate loss for the Cowboys.
All right. Be gracious.
The Arizona Diamondbacks and the Phoenix Suns. He spends his leisure time fishing in the White Mountains of Arizona and boating on Lake Havasu. If you could join me in thanking Officer Bustamante for his, or Detective Bustamante for his long tenured service to the community, I'd appreciate it. Now on to a few department highlights to cover with you as the council and the public. In the police department, so the report is packed full as usual with lots of nice pictures and narratives to follow those pictures on the work that we're doing as staff in support of the community. In the police department, they provided an update or a narrative on their first official deployment of robotic dog Roby. In a recent barricade incident where where the dog was used, Roby was used and directed to different rooms of the suspect's home, providing officers with real-time intelligence as to where the subject was located. And then this is a very important update. The police department has recently filled 5 more officer positions. Officer Shane Vu, Betsy Ramirez, Antonio Buster, Zachary Woodrow, and Ricardo Trejo, as well as adding another animal control officer, Jamie Escalera. A year ago, just so you can see the full picture, a year ago, the department was down 12 positions. I'm happy and pleased to report that today we are only down 2 positions. Now, we realize that there's a long lead-in time to actually getting those people on the street and effectively providing service. They are in training, and then there's a field training component after they get out of the academy. But this is very, very positive, good news. And this organization has worked hard. Council, you've in many ways led that charge with your consideration of various pay adjustments to staff, particularly the police department. It's brought us back to an area of compatibility, competitiveness, and it's proven to be very helpful. So I just wanted to share that good story with you. In the planning and building department, we continue to keep a very, very close eye on the number of permits that are issued. For December, we issued a total of 111 building permits. We issued 19 single-family home permits in December, bringing us to a total of 156 for the year, an average of 26 per month. This number is below the predicted monthly average that we tied our budget to, 40 permits, single-family permits per month. Permit numbers for December, just so you know, are historically always low. So not to be too shocked with what we're seeing in December. However, these numbers haven't changed the year-end projections that we provided to council in your retreat earlier this month. We will continue to hold that vacancy in the planning and building department as a safety net for what might come in terms of a continued sluggish economy. So stay tuned on that, but just know that your staff is monitoring this very carefully. The other update that I provide to you by planning and building is that the community outreach for residential zone change code amendments is complete. We won't be making any additional formal outreach events, but we still encourage the community to contact staff and provide feedback or questions as it relates to this effort. The next step in the process will be a study session before the council, and that's anticipated to hit you at your February 27th meeting. Then there'll be additional steps to eventual action by the council. So stay tuned on that. In the Parks and Rec department, I wanted to just do a quick report back to you on the Winterfest event in December. Attendance was estimated at approximately 13,500 people at that event. For those of us that attended, it was obvious that it was a very popular event. Probably the largest that we've ever witnessed as an organization to date. Parks and Rec also is announcing that the park at Los Arroyos should be completed this month, which is a good story for the community and enhancing the service that we provide to the public. In Public Works, we wanted to recognize an effort of continuous professional development. Beth Abramovich, our assistant to town manager, Heidi Lasham in Public Works, Nalo Nalavali in Public Works, and Devin Stalder from our Parks and Rec department completed successfully ICMA's, that's the International City Managers Association High Performance Leadership Academy. It's how many weeks is that, Beth? Do you remember? How many? 12-week program. And it requires homework, and it requires a commitment to stay the course. And I really wanted to recognize these employees for taking that on in and above all the other duties that they have in an effort to, again, continue to have our organization as a high-performing organization. In finance, wanted to recognize our finance department, really the town council and our community as a whole, our organization. The town received the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for its annual budget for the 2023 fiscal year by the Government Finance Officers Association, that's GFOA. So thank you, AC. Are you here, AC?
In the
Where's
front
AC?
row.
Oh, AC, there you are. Thank you, AC, for your leadership there. I really appreciate that.
And Shane, AC, how many years in a row?
16?
16 years. Pretty fine accomplishment.
Yeah, fun story, very positive story to tell the public, so I'm grateful for the opportunity. Next slide. Let's see, that's me, okay. From Economic Development, wanted to recognize a new addition to the Economic Development team. Melissa Mata joined the town as our new Economic Development Specialist. Melissa previously worked for a special project coordinator with FC Tucson. As the Economic Development Specialist for the town, she will be responsible for the Grow in Sahuarita business program, among other duties. So welcome, Melissa. Thank you for all that you're doing. I know Victor's excited to have you on board, as are we all. The SOS group was very busy during the holidays. They had a Deck the Door contest. I know that Vice Mayor Egbert and Councilmember Morales were very helpful in coming around as our judges. We had a first place award given to our Planning and Building Department, second place to Finance, and third place Public Works. Pictures of these doors, these very creative doors, are included in the report. So take a look at that. We also had a holiday party in the council chambers for staff. It was very well attended. We had several council members attend, so thank you very, very much for that, for supporting that effort. There were games and just an opportunity for your staff to kind of relax and get out of the daily grind of the work that they do, and mingle and socialize with each other. By all reports that I've received, Mayor and Council, it was greatly appreciated. So thank you for your support and allowing staff to have these opportunities periodically. As part of that exercise, there was an ugly Christmas sweater contest that was held, and all the staff that participated in the meeting were able to, the event were able to weigh in and vote. Carmen Tena was determined to have received the most votes, followed by Blanca Espino and in second place, and Nalo Nalavali in third place, and their pictures are in the report as well. The last thing that I'll report on by way of department highlights is your planning and budget retreat in January. Mayor and Council, thank you. What a huge commitment of time to dedicate to the process. We got a lot of work done, and we're following up with our consultant to bring final touches to a revised strategic plan that we can bring back to council in the very near future. So stay tuned on that. But your efforts led to laying a foundation upon which we can craft and build a town manager's recommended budget for your consideration later this spring. So again, thanks for the effort, and I appreciate staff support as well. We'll get into just a quick update on some of our capital projects. The wastewater lab building is substantially complete. I know that you have on your calendars the grand opening ceremony for that new facility. It's 10:30 in the morning, January 31st. And so look forward to seeing many, hopefully all of you at that.
Is Mayor going to do the first flush?
I don't know.
I'm gonna clean it up.
Love it. And I think the only other one that I want to, there's a lot of projects in there, so please go ahead and jump into that document and read it. But the other one I'll call to your attention is the La Cañada rezoning application. So an application is currently under review to rezone approximately 15 acres of land from rural residential to B1 local business. The site is located at the east side of La Cañada, north of Duval Mine Road. The concept drawing for the site includes apartment complex and possible commercial uses. The site is located within an area planned for commercial land use and growth as designated in the town's general plan. Public hearing will begin with the Planning and Zoning Commission tentatively scheduled for the first part of February 6th. So stay tuned on that. It's very exciting. And happy to answer any questions that you have. Also in the report is the comprehensive project map in the back of the report and a list of all the projects going on in the community that are active and ongoing.
Thank you for a very comprehensive report, as always. Any questions to my left? Am I right? Okay, thanks again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Madam Clerk, will you please read item number 1, which is our first addenda item for the evening?
Presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding the 2023 legislative session updates.
Thank you. I didn't know if, Mr. Dilly, did you want to introduce the item or just turn it over to Nathan and he'll launch it along with Karen Cruz of the Cruz Group LLC?
Why don't I kick this one off just at a higher level and then turn it over to Nathan. Mayor and Council, Nathan Barrett, our management assistant in the town manager's office, is a jack of all trades, but he has a real passion for numbers and data, and he has a real passion for following the state legislature, the various bills and their impacts on community. It's a bit of a former life that he experienced with his previous employer, and it's carried over, I think, very nicely suited to, and he's nicely suited to take this responsibility on. I also want you to know that we have engaged in a contract with a state lobbyist. Nathan will introduce her to the town council. She's on the call via Teams. Hopefully you can engage her a little bit as well. But we needed to make a decision rather quickly as the state legislature is moving very fast on a lot of bills.
Dropping a lot of bills.
A lot of bills.
Yeah.
And a lot of those bills impact our quality of life, they impact our revenue, and they also impact local control. So Nathan will get into all of that. And the other thing that I'll let you know is we will make sure that we're scheduling these legislative updates for council at least once a month. If things are pending that are really critical, we'll jump in twice a month with you. But at least on a monthly basis, you'll get an update from Nathan on where these bills sit and solicit your information, your direction on how to move forward with some things. So thank you.
Thank you. Nathan, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. If we can head to the next slide. This thing is not working. Okay, tonight's legislative update I'm going to do in 3 parts. First part, we'll introduce Karen Cruz. Then I'm going to give you some legislative perspective, and then I'm going to launch into some bills that are on our radar, which I've divided into 3 categories: financial, local control, and miscellaneous. So first up, I want to introduce Karen Cruz. If we can maximize her window here so she can see all of us and we can see all of her, I'm going to let her introduce herself, a little bit of her background, and what she will be doing for us. I had the opportunity to speak with Karen on Friday afternoon, and am looking forward to working with her. So Karen, welcome.
Absolutely, and good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council and audience. I'm Karen Cruz of the Cruz Group, and I've been involved in politics for years. I have been down at the legislature for more than 15 years now, lobbying specifically. And so I am thrilled to be a member of this legislative team, and I look forward to working with all of you to toward implementing your legislative agenda. You have a wonderful team of people and a wonderful council and wonderful mayor. As I've been listening in on the council meeting, and so I'm just really thrilled to be a part of it and to help you advance and grow and be the vibrant community that you are.
Thank you. Any questions for Karen?
Yes, Karen, this is Tom Murphy, the mayor. I just had a quick question. I serve on the executive committee for the league, and one of the things that I know as a group we're concerned about, we have a Democratic governor, and we have a House and a Senate that are both Republican. Can you put your crystal ball, cleaning that up, and how do you see a lot of freshmen up there on both sides, that are new? How do you see all of these folks? Because even when it was Governor Ducey and both ours, just trying to get a budget out was really difficult, and that was everybody from the same party. So can you just touch on how you think this will proceed forward?
Painfully is probably the best answer for that. Yes, indeed. It will be I think what will end up happening, and if I had a crystal ball, I'd have millions. But I think what will happen is that it will be very protracted in the beginning. I think the legislature will end up passing a number of bills that are priorities for Republicans because they do have a very slim majority, just a 1-vote majority in each chamber. But I think to send a signal, they will end up sending a bunch of bills up to the governor, who will then likely veto most of them, right, including potentially a budget. And then they will get down to work, and then they will roll up their sleeves and they will begin negotiating on any number of issues, including the budget. But we, me being boots on the ground here and working very closely with Nathan and Shane, I will be providing detailed information as much in real time as possible. And I know that you're active in the league, and that's a really fabulous place to voice your, lend your voice to the process on issues that matter. And I will also be helping to do that here on the ground.
Right.
But it will be a long session.
Thank you, because I know it's always difficult when we have to have a budget, which we need to have by a certain date certain. The legislature doesn't necessarily have to do that, so it makes it very difficult. So that was one of certainly the messages I'd love to have you carry up there, is that in a sense of certainty, without that it makes it very difficult. And obviously the league has been promoting local control for a very long time, which I find interesting because when most of these elected officials were local, they believed in local control until they get to the legislature, and then they kind of believe in their control at that point. So I find that a little ironic, but that's just me. Any questions for Karen before we proceed? Any questions? No? Please continue, Nathan.
One final note about Karen's work for us. Besides the legislative consulting and lobbying that she'll be doing for us, she's also going to be helping us interface with the Arizona State Lands Department, right, which, as you know, is going to be vital for the future of Sahuarita. And she's already earning her keep in that regard. Right before the meeting started today, she sent a text to me letting me know that a state lands commissioner has been named by the governor.
Oh, super.
Whose name escapes me right now. I can pull out the text if you need it. But okay. Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Nathan, I believe that's Robin Sahid. Is
That's
that
the
correct,
name.
Karen?
Yes, Robin Sahid, yes, who comes from a local background in California. I don't know this individual, but in very short order, hopefully I will build that relationship and get us going in the right direction and continue that effort.
Thank you. That'll be much appreciated.
Okay.
Of course.
Alrighty, I want to give you some legislative perspective. Looking back last year at the 2022 legislative session, there were 1,700 bills introduced. Now that includes memorials and resolutions, but 1,700 bills, 388 of which passed, which gives us a pass rate of 22%. Now, there are 2 points here that I want to make. First, 1,747 bills. I'm going to update you tonight on 10 bills. So there is a lot going on at the legislature. I can't possibly touch on everything that we're tracking, but we've got a great team here in the town with Karen, with the league, helping us to run triage and figure out which of those bills are going to be most important for us and which ones we need to be reporting to you, to the council. The second point I want to make here is with that 22% pass rate. Bad bills can be fought. They can be killed. But it does require effort on our part. At the same time, just because we see a bad bill being proposed doesn't mean it's time to panic. Right. We'll get the boots on the ground, we'll roll up our sleeves, we'll get to work, and we'll work on killing those bills, those bad bills. Speaking of which, the crossover deadline, I want to call your attention to this, February 17th. That is the date by which a House bill has to clear House committees and a Senate bill has to clear Senate committees. If a bill doesn't clear that hurdle by February 17th, it is mostly dead. But as we know from The Princess Bride, mostly dead is partly alive. So, we are going to keep an eye and be very vigilant and make sure those bills that have died in committee will not come back and haunt us. However, February 17th is the time of year when all of us in this line of work heave a big sigh of relief and say, we've now got a manageable universe of bills that we can track, fight, support. Okay, so let's get into the 10 bills plus one bonus bill that I want to talk about tonight. So if we'll go to the next slide, let's start with some financial bills.
Mayor and council, can you see the passion that I was talking about? I'm just saying,
Yes.
I know it's stating the obvious, but I think this is a good fit.
And I think that's the first Princess Bride quote we've ever had
Yeah,
at a
yeah,
council
yeah,
meeting,
yeah.
so
Just-
please put it on record.
I don't think you know what that means.
Just saying, bring some more of it. That was awesome.
Okay, let's start with HB 2003. This is a bill that would gradually decrease corporate income tax rates over the next several years. Now, this doesn't directly affect the town because we do not collect an income tax. However, income taxes collected by the state flow back to cities and towns through state shared revenue. So if the state isn't collecting as much in income tax, there's fewer dollars flowing back to cities and towns. The League of Arizona Cities and Towns estimates that the impact to the town of Sahuarita on this bill would be $243,000 the first year, and it would go up by fiscal year 2029. We're looking at a hit of $729,000. So not necessarily a great position to be in. There is a small...
However, when the businesses retain that money, it's reinvested in their businesses and usually spent within their towns.
Very likely. I just have the numbers that I can report here. The small advantage with the income tax state shared revenues is there is a 2-year delay, so that does give the town some time to prepare for any possible hits to state shared revenues. This bill was double assigned to committees, meaning it was assigned to both the Ways and Means Committee and Appropriations Committee. It has cleared both of those committees already. Okay, next up, House Bill 2061. This would prohibit cities and towns from charging a tax on food that is consumed at home. Here in the town of Sahuarita, we do not have a food on groceries. But we have taken a position on this bill because it does implicate local control. This bill and the next one, 2067, are often discussed together with the legislature, with lobbyists, with the league. So I'll talk about both of them together. However, 2061 is the bill right now that has legs. It was assigned to the Ways and Means Committee and has passed out of that committee. The position statement that the town prepared on 2061, we sent to the 4 legislators who serve in districts 19 and 21. Both of those districts have portions of the town in their districts. 2067 does impact the town of Sahuarita. It prohibits cities and towns from levying a residential rental tax. The impact on the town for this, for not being able to collect this tax would be $173,000 per year, give or take. And this bill has been assigned to Ways and Means, has not yet been heard in that committee. The tactic that the league is taking with both of these bills is trying to encourage, inspire legislators to better target the relief that they want to give to Arizonans. Neither of these bills are really well targeted to Arizonans who need the relief in grocery bills and rental bills. There are millions of Arizonans who live in jurisdictions who don't charge a rental tax or a grocery tax. The poorest of Arizonans who are on SNAP benefits or have Section 8 vouchers are not paying those taxes anyways, so these bills would not give relief to those Arizonans. So the league is working with legislators to come up with other ideas, creative ideas that better target the Arizonans who need that relief, and incidentally protect the local control issue and allows jurisdictions to maintain that local control. SB 1033. This is actually a priority for the governor. Priority enough that it has come up in her State of the State address, that it's in her draft budget. This would be an exemption on transaction privilege tax on diapers and feminine hygiene products. The League of Arizona Cities and Towns estimated that the reduction in taxes would be about $28 million per year. It's a little difficult to suss out how much of that 28 goes to each, or would come from each city and town. If we just take the percentage of the town of Sahuarita population as a percentage of municipal population as a whole, we'd be thinking about $167,000 a year in reduction in taxes. Okay, the bonus bill that we've got. Before I move on to that, 1033 has not yet been assigned to committee. Important to note. Okay, bonus bill. It's not a bill yet. It doesn't have a bill number. This is the extension of the Municipal Tax Code Commission. This is something I spoke about at the retreat. This is the commission that is due to sunset this July 1st. Currently, there's nobody sitting on the commission. But before a bill can be crafted to extend that sunset, the committees of record have to meet, the Ways and Means Committee, have to meet and say, yes, that'd be a good idea. And then they craft a bill, it gets assigned a number, and then we go through the whole legislative process. I'm bringing this up because the House Ways and Means Committee last week said, yes, let's extend it for another 4 years. So we are making progress on that issue. Okay, next slide. Let's talk about some bills that are affecting local control. Start with House Bill 2191. This bill relates to an old, I say old, we'll call it old, 2016 bill, SB 1487. Just a bit of background on 1487. That came about from a grudge match between the city of Tucson and the state of Arizona. The state of Arizona told the city of Tucson, hey, you have an ordinance that is against state law. You need to repeal it. City of Tucson said, no, make us. The state legislature said, okay, and they passed SB 1487. Which allows a legislator to allege a violation of state law in a city or town, and then obligates the Attorney General to investigate that violation. If a violation is found and is not corrected, state shared revenues can be withheld from that city and town. 2191 would repeal that. SB 1487 2191 would repeal that old 2016 law. It has been assigned to the Government Committee and to the Judiciary Committee. Normally, as a rule of thumb, when a bill is double assigned like this, when it's assigned to two committees, it's a way for the Speaker or the President of the Senate to kill a bill without killing it. It's much, much harder to get a bill through two committees than it is to get through one committee. So it's a way for legislative leadership to kill a bill but keep their hands clean. Having said that, we just saw a bill tonight that was double assigned and did make it through both committees very quickly. So there are exceptions to every rule. Okay, let's talk 2483, backyard fowl. I love this bill just because I love chickens. Chickens are funny critters. However, I don't love this bill because it does implicate local control. The name of the bill says regulation prohibition. It's not so much a prohibition on regulation of backyard fowl as so much as it is a restriction on what ordinances a city could pass related to backyard chickens. For example, a city or, if this passes, a city or town could limit the number of backyard chickens, but could not limit it to less than 9. They could limit it and say you can't have more than 10 chickens back there, but they could not pass an ordinance that says you can only have 5 chickens. There's like a list of 8 or 9 restrictions that a city or town would have to stick to when regulating backyard chickens. However, as the assistant town manager has mentioned to me, this is only about backyard chickens. So apparently front yard chickens, the sky's the limit.
Nathan?
Yes.
Or Mr. Barrett? I'm assuming that this is not, that they don't have any say as to CCNRs. This does not change. That's the question that people have asked me over and over again, is how can they get backyard chickens with CCNRs that say no?
I am not a lawyer, but I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express last night. But I do believe this would not have an impact on the neighborhoods in Sahuarita that have CCNRs, that have HOAs.
Thank you.
This bill has been assigned to the Land, Agriculture, and Rural Affairs Committee. Okay, and then finally, on this topic, SB 1162, this is a restriction on home-based business restrictions. Again, it's a restriction on what restrictions a city or town could place on these businesses. It would allow home-based businesses by right for businesses that meet the no-impact definition. That no-impact definition includes minimal employment, meaning either residents of the home or up to 3 immediate family members of the residence. No on-street parking, occurs inside the residence, not visible from the street. If a business meets those requirements, this bill would say you cannot restrict a home from having a home-based business. This bill is currently unassigned. It has not been assigned to a committee yet. Okay, let's go to my final slide. These are just some miscellaneous bills. Technically, they could probably be filed under local control. I did not file them under local control because they give options to cities and towns. They allow cities and towns to choose for themselves if they want to enact these things. It may be my innate cynicism to be a little bit leery of these, because you put a bill like this on the books, and then 5 years later, a well-meaning legislator will come along and say, hey, this optional thing ought to be mandatory. So rather than give a mouse a cookie, I'd rather just not. 1103, this would allow the legislative body of a municipality, the council, to authorize administrative approvals of various planning documents, development plans, preliminary plats, final plats, etc. I believe we have a pretty streamlined process here. I was talking with Orlanthia earlier, telling her a little bit about this bill, and she was like, well, we already do that. So I don't think that bill will have much impact on us, but still one I'm keeping track of. SB 1006, this would allow a municipality to post on their website, in lieu of publishing in a newspaper, notices of elections, invitation for bids, notices of letting contracts, laws and ordinances, etc. This might actually be a good thing. Like I said, I'm probably overly cynical. This bill has passed from committee. It was assigned to the government committee and has passed out of committee. Finally, SB 1011. I did mention that this might be an issue upcoming when I last spoke to you at the retreat, but this bill makes it optional. This says a municipality can, at their option, have a candidate's political party registration indicated on ballots when it comes to municipal elections. This is the one I'm probably most leery of about making it optional. You get this on the books as optional now, and 5 years later, somebody will want to make it mandatory. However, because it is optional, the league is taking a neutral stance on that particular bill. That bill was assigned to the government committee and has passed out of committee at this point.
Nathan, on that one, not just the party would be identified. Are they promoting having a primary as well for that, or are they just identifying the party for the election?
I haven't seen anything about a primary election in that, but I will look into that, ask questions if need be, and report back to you. Okay, That's the 10 bills I chose to highlight tonight. Looking forward to keeping an eye on this legislative session. I was on a call this morning with the league, and their feeling is that bills are actually being introduced at a slower rate this year than in previous years, although that could pick up. The deputy director of the league thinks it might just be because we have a huge class of freshman legislators who are learning the ropes, learning the job. And so those 1,700 bills, we'll get there.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just one item. Inherently, just because the town may get less revenue doesn't make a bill bad. Okay? Giving people their money to do as they see fit is better than us taking their money and doing as we see fit.
But we're
Just
very
across the
smart.
board.
Thanks. Any other comments?
Yep.
Simon?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, and maybe more for the town manager, more of a technical issue. As the town gets more active in legislative issues, which I think is a good thing, a lot of this stuff starts happening close to the end of the session, striker bills popping up, that if there's a way to look into how, as a council, we can be notified, maybe offering our opinions without violating open meeting law. And obviously, if we're only meeting once a month or twice a month, a lot of these issues where council input is necessary could occur. So I don't know, maybe talking with legal counsel, if there's a way we can do this electronically. But obviously they're public meetings, so.
Well, I would avoid sort of polling the council. It would be probably an open meeting law violation. So I think, it's a little, they can't do it today, but I think the better practice is for the council to come up with sort of broad direction on the types of legislation that the town wants to support. Because even if you met twice a month, you still can't keep up with the legislature, especially on this year's a little slow, it sounds like, but on a 1,700 bill, legislature, it's impossible to keep up. So I think that in the future, the way to do it would be for the council to sort of adopt a broad, sort of like the league does in a way, a broad base. We're against, we're for these, we're against these type bills, so that staff has direction to go. And then if there's something really critical that staff needs direction on, I would suggest having a special meeting. You can do that virtually as long as it's available to the public as well. So, but I wouldn't poll but you could literally do a virtual meeting that's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, as long as you have 24-hour notice.
Right.
And Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
The other thing that individually everyone here can do is get an RTS account, request to speak account, and put their for or against.
Right.
Against these bills.
Right, at the legislature.
Yeah.
And then that's become easier over time to actually weigh in on that. Shane, did you want to weigh in?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Appreciate the question, Councilmember Davis. It's for that very reason that we broached the topic of legislative priorities with the council during your retreat, so that we would have a general feel and sense of what was important to you and what wasn't, generally speaking. Certainly on any of the bills that we decide justify us issuing a position statement on, the council is going to be copied on that, as we've done in the past. And certainly if you as an individual council member has a question or a further thought or comment that you want to provide, either Nathan or myself, in relation to those statement opinions, we're happy to receive that and try to further that as long as it fits within the general direction that we receive from council on your legislative priority.
And
If a council member says that, hey, I want to revisit those priorities because I think it needs to be adjusted, or we need to add to it, I think that's a matter of asking, the mayor to put something on the agenda for us to talk about. Staff will do a really good job, I believe, in taking critical bills that we know we need council direction on and getting those agendized for your feedback. We need that feedback. But generally speaking, bills that challenge local control, seem to, or seem to have some kind of, big hit monetarily to the, to the community, we probably need to get those in front of you specifically to the point that Councilmember Bracco brought up. Maybe the council is okay with a bill passing that has a negative monetary impact on us because of its cause and what it's really trying to do for the public. But generally speaking, I don't see that happen too often with the state legislature. And so we'll be extra sensitive to those particular issues, and we will be more proactive in getting those things in front of you as council for further direction. But I think generally speaking, the priority list that you weighed in on during the budget retreat is something that we're just going to kind of run with as staff.
And Councilmember Bracco brought up a good point. Even if it came before us and there was one or two or whoever dissenting views, it doesn't prevent them as an individual citizen in Arizona
Correct.
to weigh in at the legislature.
And
So-
that's, Mayor, I'm glad you brought that up. Just want to point out that if you do go on to that RTS system, and you're not in tune with the majority of the council, you really shouldn't say, I'm council member so-and-so, because it creates confusion if it's opposed to or not consistent with what the majority of the council wants. So certainly as an individual citizen, resident or citizen you are, but if you're going to go on there and represent yourself as a member of the town council, it should be something that the town council has approved or agreed to, at least the position.
Right. Thanks for that point. Appreciate it. Any other questions for Nathan or?
I did have
Bruce?
one, Mayor.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
Sorry. So Nathan, in the previous slide, or just as a whole, were there any of these bills? Yeah, that state law local violation repeal. So it's repealing 1487 if it passes. Are there any bills like that you're already planning on writing a position statement for?
Not really. I'm playing it by ear.
Is there a reason why we wouldn't be proactive in supporting a bill like that?
I don't see one, no.
Okay. Food for thought, but if you guys have a specific opinion one way or the other, particularly on that 2191, if that really is the intent of that bill, to strike that 1487, I think that's a great thing to get out ahead of and proactively support. So just again, food for thought, but I would think that we would want to support that one right out the gate.
Thanks. I think backyard fowl should be allowed next to reporters' homes. I think that would be a good thing.
Have you seen the price of eggs?
But outside of that, not really.
So I think, Mayor, I think the manager is correct. If this is your opportunity to sort of give a consensus direction, you're not really voting on it, but if you want staff to take or the lobbyists to take an active role in a particular bill, then this is sort of the time for you to be able to provide that direction. And not really a vote, but if there's a consensus, I think now's the time to do that.
Right.
I have, over the last couple of weeks, attended a number of trainings with the League of Arizona Cities and Towns, and one thing that they have emphasized a couple times is that when a bill dies in committee, it often dies because the committee members don't hear anything about the bill. Nobody contacts them about that bill, so they just sit on it. They figure, no one's talking to us about this bill, it's not a priority, we're not going to agendize it. So if we do have a bill like this, there is a very real benefit in getting in front of it early to send the message to the legislature, this bill is important, don't let it die in committee.
And John, if there are council members that, aren't comfortable enough, they want to look into it, is it appropriate that they, in a one-way communication, get a hold of Shane and weigh in?
Well, again, it gets a little bit near polling, but if in case is everybody familiar with what 1487 is? It allows one legislator in the state to file a complaint on a local government ordinance. And they tried to expand it to policies. I think that fell through the cracks. It allows one legislator to file a complaint that an ordinance that a council has adopted is illegal or unconstitutional. Then that requires the Attorney General to investigate to look into that particular ordinance. If the Attorney General can find three things, the Attorney General can find that it doesn't violate the law, and then it's status quo. Could find that it does violate the law, and then the town or city has to either rescind or repeal that ordinance or go to the Supreme Court and fight to maintain the ordinance. The threat is that the Attorney General can tell the Treasurer to withhold state shared revenues. Hasn't happened yet because the prior Attorney General didn't want to get that draconian with it. So I don't know about the new Attorney General, what her position would be on that. The other option is that the Attorney General could find that it might violate state law, in which case it automatically goes to the Supreme Court for argument. So 2 out of 3 you're in court, or you repeal the ordinance. And so as you've known, Tucson has been in multiple fights, but other cities and towns have had fights too on it. The most infamous one in Tucson was their gun regulation one. So it's really, I'll just give you my opinion as an attorney. It's a terrible law for cities and towns, because typically the legal process is if this council adopts something that somebody thinks is illegal, the residents or other people can then sue or they can you can do referendum within 30 days if it's a new law, or a person aggrieved or offended by the law can go to court and sue. The Attorney General can also sue if the town or city is doing something illegal pre-1487 on behalf of the residents. But in 1487, it makes the Attorney General the judge, jury, and executioner. So, which is just really outside of the kind of concepts that we have of, American jurisprudence. So it really is not a great law for cities and towns. And frankly, it's probably, in terms of success, it's probably 50-50 in terms of how often the Attorney General said this something violates, and then the courts have said, no, it doesn't.
Well, I'll add one to that. I'll add a little to that. Is that it doesn't necessarily have to be a legislator that's representing your area.
Right.
It could be a legislator up in Kingman that doesn't like what Douglas is doing, and so they all of a sudden there's a 1487 claim against that jurisdiction. And on top of that, a very recent example was in Sedona, and I know that John mentioned that there's never been a holding of state shared revenues from a municipality because the Attorney General never wanted to really push that. But I will tell you that there are cases like Sedona's case where there was a 1487 levied against the municipality, and rather than go down the risk of having state shared revenues withheld, they ended up changing their legislative position. So they changed their ordinance, and it was all about short-term rentals.
Right.
In that community, like 70-80% of their home inventory had been converted to short-term rental. Can you imagine what that would do to a community? It'd be completely transient. You couldn't do any kind of community surveying because who are you surveying? How do you know what your place is? And so that community wanted to do something to control short-term rentals in their community, and they implemented a law by ordinance, and it was challenged 1487, and ultimately the municipality had to back away from what they thought was best for their community because of the risk and challenge of losing state shared revenue. So I think any opportunity to repeal and fight against 1487 very much is in line with your desire as council to protect local control.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I know, and I've seen that in the past. My biggest problem with it is people halfway across the state, bringing that claim
In
against
fact,
the
that's
town.
almost every time.
Every time, right?
Yeah.
Because the local, and I'll be cynical too. My cynicism is some local legislature calls a legislator from far away and says, hey, you do mine and I'll do yours.
Yeah.
And doesn't really play out that way. A little bit of speculation, but it sure seems like you rarely, if ever, get a local legislator coming down on Sahuarita or coming down on Sedona. It's somebody from some other part of the state.
Right.
So I would recommend, if council's willing to go there, I would recommend definitely getting a position statement out in support of this HB 2191.
And John, would you want that in a form of a vote?
No, I
or
think you
no?
just have, if the council
Head
can
nods,
get nods
yeah.
or consensus, if nobody's opposed, we really aren't set up for a vote, but again, these to give opportunities, get a thumbs up. These opportunities allow the council to give direction on something.
Right.
And again, you're just giving direction to staff, but I would suggest that it's your thumbs up or
Right.
good move on this one.
I think Shane has direction from just gazing at us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I know what I'm doing tomorrow morning.
Anything else, Nathan?
That's all I have to report tonight.
Karen, would you like to add anything else? Oh, she's on mute, I think. Or, no, that was.
Apologies, I hit the wrong button. I'm sorry about that. Again, this dialogue is very critically important, and I appreciate the mayor and the council really leaning in and being passionate about local control, because I gotta say, especially on 2191, you are not alone. Just about every municipality has been kind of cowering under the threat of this 1487 for many, many years, several years, and it's really would unshackle and take the noose from around your neck to be able to respond to your community in a way that you and they see fit. So I will definitely work with Nathan and with Shane to develop some strategies on how best to be most impactful on that issue. And I look forward to meeting you next month at your meeting. And hopefully we won't be discussing it then. Hopefully it will be moving through the process by then.
Well, thank you for joining us and being part of the team, Team Salarita.
And Mayor, just one final comment, lest anyone have any concerns that this council is going to go and do some wildcat, crazy, illegal things. You're not. We're going to make sure that you follow the law to the best that we can. So if anybody's concerned that you're going to go off the, I don't know if you can say off the reservation anymore, but off the reservation, we're going to keep you within those legally defensible limits. It's just that we don't need a hammer from the Attorney General or some legislator from Kingman telling you that what you're doing is illegal, and then the Attorney General coming down on you and having to either repeal or spend a bunch of money to go to the Supreme Court.
Right. Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Item number 9 is the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Moved.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, item number 10.
Presentation and discussion of the fiscal year 2022 audit results and any findings.
Thank you, Mr. Mariotti. Our Finance Director will introduce the item, and Dennis O. Such, Principal at Clifton Larson Allen CLA LLP, will be joining in. Mr. Mariotti.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you. Our audit wrapped up on December 27th, 2022. That audit covered our financial reports for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022. State law requires the independent auditors to present at a regular council meeting to the governing body the results of the audit and any findings that were noted during the audit. Prior to this process, because this is a relatively new state law, and this is the second year that this has occurred, but prior to the law, we used to have our auditors present to the Finance and Investment and Advisory Committee, and that committee functioned as our audit committee, and then we would invite the town council members to that presentation. But with the state law, you're going to get the presentation directly at a regular council meeting. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dennis Osuch, who is the principal with Clifton Larson Allen.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you, AC, for handing that over. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the June 30th, 2022 audit. So the reports that you should have in front of you, the first one, there's a governance communication. I'm not going to go over that too much because that's what I'm going to cover here today. You'll have the annual comprehensive financial report. That's the big document that you've got, which is the financial statements for the town. We also issued a single audit report, which I'll go over in a little bit, highway user revenue examination report, and the annual expenditure limitation report. So our job as auditors is to give an opinion on the financial statements. In addition, we give an opinion related to the federal programs on compliance, related to the major federal programs that we look at. And then we have 2 examination reports, one for the annual expenditure limitation report, and then one for the Highway User Revenue Fund. Those are examinations just because they're not done under generally accepted accounting principles, but other formats, which is basically put out by the Auditor General itself. So as it relates to the financial statements, in our governance communication, we do talk about any significant items related to the financial statements that you should be aware of. The one item that we did note in our letter to governance was the implementation of the new lease standards. It didn't have a terribly significant impact on the town itself, but it did change the reporting for leases. And essentially anything where there may be a right to use an asset for a period over 1 year, it's subject to being reported under the lease standards. And you could either have a lease receivable or a lease payable. And the reason I say it didn't have a significant impact on the town was there was only about $102,000 in lease receivable, and then the lease payable was previously reported as a capital lease and is now reported just as a lease and not as a financing purchase related to the town. So not too significant impact on the town itself. In preparing the financial statements, management does put estimates into those financial statements, and so we disclose those in the letter. And the reason we do is because simply they are estimates, and they're based on the known facts at the time. So the significant estimates that go into the financial statements include the useful lives of capital assets, the fair value of investments, management's estimate of the allowance for uncollectibles, so any type of accounts receivable. There is an estimate for any receivables that may not be collected, the compensated absence liability, and then your pension and OPEB assets and liabilities based on actuarial reports. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the right to use asset or the lease receivable or lease liability, again, is based on best estimates at the time of implementation, which include the discount rate, which is essentially the interest rate that was known or used as of July 1st, 2021, which was the implementation date. As part of our audit, we do go through, we review those estimates in putting the financial statements together because they are significant. We do look at the actuarial reports or other documentation supporting the estimates that are going into the financial statements. We didn't have any difficulties in performing the audit. We did not have any uncorrected misstatements. What that basically is if we identified any type of adjustments that we would propose to management and management chose not to make an adjustment, but they were not material to the financial statements or would not impact the user of the financial statements, we would disclose any type of unrecorded journal entries, and we had none. We also had no correcting misstatements either, any material correcting misstatements. So as far as the annual financial report itself, we issued an unmodified opinion, and what that means is that we issued a clean opinion basically stating that the financial statements are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. In doing that, in doing the work in order to provide our opinion, we do assess risk associated with the financial statement disclosures. The areas that we identified as higher risk would have been revenue recognition, management override of controls, and the financial statement preparation. So when I say risks, this doesn't mean that there was anything bad or anything that we identified that increased that risk. As a matter of fact, there's always a risk associated with financial statement audit or preparation of the financial statements. These are just areas where we identify that if there was a misstatement or something had occurred, it could impact the user of the financial statements more significantly. So what that basically means is that we performed more additional procedures over those areas in order to get a comfort level in providing our opinion on the financial statements. The other reports that we did issue was the single audit report. And for the single audit report, we audited one major program, and that was the Coronavirus Relief State and Local Recovery Fund. There was about $847,000 expended during FY22, and that accounted for approximately 67% of the total federal expenditures of the town. We were required to test 20% of those, so we were well over that 20%. In that single audit report, we issue two letters. One is the Government Auditing Standards Report. We do not provide an opinion at all, but rather we would report any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies over the financial statements. Material weaknesses would be items where a deficiency was significant enough that it resulted in a material misstatement, and a significant deficiency is less severe, but something that we feel is important enough to bring to the attention of governance. And we did not have any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies related to the financial statements. The other report that we issue is our opinion on compliance with major federal programs. And as I mentioned, the COVID-19 Coronavirus Relief Grant was the major program that we looked at. We gave a clean opinion or an unmodified opinion on compliance, and then we had no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies over compliance related to that program either. The Highway User Revenue Fund, this is a report that's required by the Arizona Auditor General. We test the use of highway user revenue funds, whether that's through payroll, accounts payable, or any type of transfers out of that fund. We look at compliance with state statute, and we provide an opinion as to whether those funds were used in accordance with state statute. And we did issue a clean opinion on that as well. And then finally, the last report that we issued is the Annual Expenditure Limitation Report. This is basically a report where each city and town is subject to an expenditure limitation amount, whether that is through the Economic Estimates Commission or it's a voter-approved alternative expenditure limitation amount. The town is under the Economic Estimates Commission. The town was about $20 million under that expenditure limitation. The report that you have in front of you is essentially a reconciliation from the financial statements back to the expenditures that are subject to the expenditure limitation. Essentially, what this reconciliation does is it reconciles the financial statements from an accrual or a modified accrual basis to almost essentially a cash basis. And then there's certain items that, according to statute, are exempt from the expenditure limitation amount. So that reconciliation takes certain items out of the expenditure limitation, the expenditures, in order to compare to the expenditure limitation amount. So what we do is we audit that, we compare that to the audited financial statements, we review the reconciling items as well as those items that were reported as exclusions to determine that it was in accordance with state statute, and we were able to issue a clean opinion or unmodified opinion on that as well. So those are the reports that we have, and before I turn it back over for any questions that council has, I just want to thank AC as well as the entire finance department. It's a big undertaking to have the audit done. The town does prepare their own financial statements, and so it's a lot of work putting those together, as well as the implementation of some of the new standards as well. And then obviously all the questions us as auditors are asking as well. So we appreciate the support from them as well. So I don't know if there's any questions that any of the council members have.
Thank you. I don't have any. It sounds like we did really well, as I would expect. Thank you, AC. On there, does anybody have any questions? Am I right?
Congratulations, AC.
Anybody else? Shane?
Mr. Mayor, just really appreciate seeing and hearing Dennis on the other end of the line. Dennis and I, our paths have crossed a number of times over the last 20 plus years of being here in Arizona. I've got the utmost respect for him as, in what he does. And so, Dennis, thanks. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. AC, do you have any last words? I want that during the budget presentation, too. Short, sweet, to the point.
And in writing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Madam Clerk, item number 11.
Discussion and possible approval of contract number 230023 with PCL Construction Incorporated for construction manager at risk, CMAR pre-construction services for the Sahuarita Water Reclamation Facility re-rating implementation project in an amount not to exceed $113,000.
Thank you. And I had down as Beth presenting, but I know Beth, and she's not presenting. So, welcome.
Hello, Mayor, Council, good evening. My name's Stephanie Miller. I'm the Interim Public Works Director. And thank you for the long title on that item. It gave me time to walk up over here. When the town acquired the water reclamation facility back in May of 2000, the town entered into an agreement with Rancho Sahuarita Management Company. And one of the conditions of the agreement provided that by the time the facility reached 75% of its capacity, all expansion plans would be completed and approved so that construction could begin immediately once we hit the 75% number. Well, the facility's current capacity is 1.5 million gallons per day. And it is anticipated that the flows will increase to the 75% number sometime, in 2024. To ensure that project design and construction were complete prior to reaching the 75% capacity number, staff estimated that work needed to begin approximately 12 to 18 months in advance. To that end, the town entered into a design contract with Carollo Engineers in 2022 for design of the expansion project. And Carollo Engineers are currently at 30% design of the expansion project. Late last summer, the town issued a request for quotation, so that we could get construction bids for construction of the expansion project. Bids were received, and PCL Construction was selected based upon their qualifications to provide pre-construction services. Before moving forward, I would like to briefly talk about various construction methods. There are primarily three delivery methods for construction work. Project length and complexity are two major determinants when you are trying to decide what type of delivery service you want for your construction project. The first one would be a design bid build. It's very simple. You design a project, you can put it on a shelf, take it down later, and build it. The second kind is a design build. That is where you hire like one firm, they design the project, they build the project, and then you're done. The third type of project is what's called construction manager at risk. And in this project, you as a project owner hire a construction firm early in the design and planning process, but separately from the design firm. So as I mentioned, we have Carollo on board. They've been designing, they're at 30%. This is known as construction manager at risk. And it is what happens essentially is now that the project is at 30% design, we bring on a construction contractor, and then the rest of the project gets designed with that contractor involved in the process so that they understand what's going on with the project, they understand the complexities, they can do some pre-construction work in advance. And then once all of this has taken place and we get closer to full design, that contractor gives us, the town and the design engineer work in concert, talking to the contractor, and that contractor provides what's called a guaranteed maximum price, or a GMP. And then that construction firm will be responsible for any costs that exceed that amount. If it's done correctly, it can yield time and cost efficiencies. You dramatically reduce change orders, and you also reduce the amount of what's known as scope creep. So the expansion project is a highly complex project in that the facility needs to continue to operate 24/7 at the same time the expansion project is underway. It's estimated that construction will take approximately 12 to 14 months to complete, and the two facts, the fact that it's a lengthy project and a complex project, are the primary reasons why staff is recommending the use of a construction manager at risk. And those two reasons, again, the length of the project and the complexity, is why Public Works introduced the use of a construction manager at risk for this project during the town's fiscal year 23 budget discussion. And based upon the budget discussion, Public Works program construction funds in the current fiscal year, this contract would be for the first phase, the pre-construction services. It does not obligate the town to move forward to the second phase, which would be construction. But however, based on the current flows, reaching the 75% target, and the timeline involved in designing this type of project, staff strongly recommends moving forward with this project to meet the terms of the town's sewer service agreement with Rancho Sahuarita Management Company. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them at this time.
Thank you. And would it be beneficial with the construction management at risk, because the construction folks would know where the delays in materials and supplies and all those types of things, because they're probably best suited to know what's going on.
Yes.
With supply chain.
It tends to work out well because they have an invested interest in the project right from the get-go.
Right, thanks. Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion at this time. Yes.
I make a motion to approve contract number 230023 with PCL Construction for CMAR services.
And could you include the amount not to exceed as well?
For the amount not to exceed $113 million.
No, $113,000.
$1,000.
We'll take the million.
And I'd be voting no.
I don't think AC would have that. Thank you. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Appreciate it. Madam Clerk, will you please read item number 2, which is the second addenda item for this evening?
Discussion and possible adoption of resolution number 2023-0732 of the town of Sahuarita, Arizona, authorizing the Green Valley Fire District, GVFD, to begin the district's process for annexation within the jurisdiction and the boundaries of the town of Sahuarita in order to provide fire and emergency protective services for town residents.
Thank you. Mr. Dilly, would you like to begin this discussion?
Mayor and Council, we have been approached by the Green Valley Fire District to begin their process in considering and advancing an option to annex or expand the district, the fire service district, to encompass the rest or the balance of the town of Sahuarita, which is the north section of the town. I know that we have representatives from both Rural Metro and the fire district with us tonight. This legislative step in that process is essentially housekeeping. It does not commit the town to a position one way or the other. All it does is it statutorily is required that the fire district secure this resolution from the legislative governing board of any jurisdiction. In this case, it's you as the council for the town of Sahuarita, to allow them to take necessary steps to get the question in front of the community, which at that point would be the decision-making part of the process.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Chief Wonder, did you want to say anything? Or at this, you can say something tonight. I know there's going to be a lot of further communication as we go on, but I just wanted to give you the ability if you so chose.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I don't have anything in addition. I just wanted to emphasize this is a statutory requirement and the first step. Once this is complete, a proponent will bring an annexation to the Green Valley Fire District Board of Directors to move forward on. But chicken or the egg kind of thing like that. Without having this box checked off, we cannot proceed with that process.
Great.
So happy to answer any questions I can about that or on the annexation.
Thank you. Any questions? Or if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I do have one question.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Chief, I wonder at your best forecasting, what do you see that timeline playing out where you would actually, the population would actually be seeing some kind of question in front of them for consideration?
Given our current timeline, we are optimistic that we can start moving petitions hopefully as early as April. Again, our overall goal, and again, it's an ambitious one. Keep in mind, once the process is approved and petitions are approved for circulation, you have 1 year to complete that. It would be our goal to try to wrap up that process up by October for the importance of getting it on the tax rolls for the following fiscal year. So that's kind of an important deadline. That's an ambitious deadline, I will tell you, right off the bat. But we are hopeful, and things seem to be lining up that way, that we could get, again, by April to start circulating petitions.
And those, Mr. Mayor, those best laid out plans and intentions, let's say they come to fruition and you have this behind you come October. When you say in advance of the next fiscal year, all things playing out favorably, you would be advancing services beginning July 1 of 2024. Is that how that would play out?
That would be the hope.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And before I go to adopt a resolution, Madam Clerk had something that she wanted to add, to clarify.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to note for the record that resolution number 2023-0732 has a correction. And that correction is the removal of the third whereas clause, which states, whereas pursuant to ARS C 48530413, the governing board of the RTA shall coordinate the implementation of the plan among the local jurisdictions. That was added in error and is removed.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I move to adopt resolution number 2023-0732.
We have a motion and a second?
Yeah, second.
Yep. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Having no more further business for the public, we're adjourned. Thanks for your patience.
So, just so you're tracking, I looked up that House Bill 2191. It doesn't repeal 1487. What it does is it gets rid of the Attorney General's authority to direct